Excuse me. Oh. All right, everybody. So, one of those things that we like to talk about on this channel is whether or not you should carry a self defense knife as an EDC. So, I'd like to talk about that. So, let's get into it. Let's talk blades, everybody. That's what we're into. So, before I get into that topic, I'd like to show you guys another Fox Karambit. This one was kind of shifting around in my collection a little bit. And it's not because I didn't like this. I really very much do. This is a very, very fantastic knife. I absolutely love Fox Karambits. So much so that I actually have my own little collection. Or, well, not collection, but kind of variety, I should say. So here it is. That's all this is the what they like to call the black micarta, even though clearly it's more of like a gray. But the more you touch it, I guess the more your finger oil or your hand oils kind of change it natural color back to back and forth from this color to a darker. And then of course famous G10 with the satin blade. That's not satin. Chromed blade, excuse me. This would be satin right here. Maybe I got those two mixed up. I'm a little tired. I'm a little tired. And then, of course, the smaller one. The original, in my opinion, 599 Karambit. All blackout. So, I like these. These are my my little... I did have one with the Dark Earth, but I actually gave that to a good friend. The Dark Earth thing kind of was just bothering me. I don't know why. I didn't feel like it belonged to me anymore, so I had to kind of pass it down to a friend. So self-defense knives, should you carry them? To be completely honest with you, you do you. You carry whatever you feel is necessary. And now, when I say that with a bit of wisdom, because not everybody needs a defensive knife all the time. That's just one of those things. And I was talking to a buddy about it, and we had a pretty good laugh. You know, you don't want to bust out a Karambit while you're just trying to open a package or cut open a box. You know what I mean? You don't want to, because the way that this draws out, it just looks very, very intimidating. It's a bit overkill, in my opinion. Can this function as an EDC? Of course. Any knife that is capable of cutting is very EDCable. It just depends on the person who's carrying it. Now, my thing is, would you want to? You know what I mean? Are you that paranoid to where you need to carry around an EDC that's strictly a single-purpose EDC, mainly for self-defense? I mean, if you live in a really, really sketchy neighborhood and you want something that's well-rounded, that can be your EDC but also be a good defensive blade, then that's something that I would prefer, because there was a time when I lived in a very sketchy part of town, and I always wanted to make sure that I had a little something on me just in case something were to ever happen, which, thank goodness, nothing ever did. And I always prayed for that. I always strived to make sure that, I'm not doing anything or not going anywhere that I know I shouldn't, or where I do not belong, especially when it comes to the obvious safety factor. But if you're going to walk around with something, let it be something that can actually be beneficial to you. Let it be something that you're familiar with, that your fine motor skills can actually operate in and out of stress. And let it be something that you're not scared of using. Because a lot of people will be like, oh, I've had this knife for X amount of time. I've had this knife for 8+ years, and it still scares me. When you have something like that, that could play a crucial role into whether or not you're comfortable in actually using the thing. Not so much carrying it, because anybody can carry something that you might not like or might not sit well with you, but can you use it in any way, shape, form, or fashion? So if you're going to walk around with a little, what are those little multi-tools then that's probably a little bit more realistic and useful. You could use that, all the things that are provided in that multi-tool. But if you're walking around with this, you're gonna probably think twice about, should I really? Is that something I want to walk around with? You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna walk around with a punch dagger, you know, to cut open a can of beans. Or maybe you do, or maybe you are that kind of person. But that's my thing. Defensive knives kind of play a role in such a way that, if you're an off-duty police officer, or if you're just that type of guy who kind of needs that extra bit of help because maybe you do live in a really weird part of town, then yeah, EDCing a decent, well-rounded knife is what I like to call them. A knife that can be used in every aspect, whether it be a tool or a self-defense weapon. Then do that. I kind of cycle through what I carry, and it's not always gonna be a karambit. It's not always gonna be, a dagger, obviously, because that stuff isn't really that good to be carrying every day anyways. I mean, it does not really any practical application. I mean, you could, but if you're going to carry something, carry what suits you, what that you're familiar with, what you're comfortable with carrying on you. Is it going to weigh too much in the pocket? Is it going to assist you in your job, whether you're using it for your job, or if you're just using it because you have a lot of stuff that you have to open or cut. There's a guy that I used to know who's an electrician. He carries around a Benchmade bailout, and he carries it because he knows he strips wires, and he does a lot of cutting with it. And he always told me, he's like, man, I love this knife, but what if I get attacked by, said lady's rabid dog? And he always tell me a story about how maybe one day this dog is seriously going to try and, do more than just bark at him. Maybe if he gets out of his fence or gets free, he might actually attack him because he looks like a vicious dog. And I told him, I was like, dude, if you're thinking in that kind of context, maybe the knife that you have might not be well-rounded. And I was like, heaven forbid you'd have to actually take a life, whether that be a human or an animal. That's just horrible either way. But if there's a cool factor to it and you like carrying it, then why not? You carry it because of that. Or you carry it because you have to walk to and from a certain area that is just not the safest. Or maybe you're a security guard. You kind of have to think about what you're looking for when you go out and purchase a knife. Is it something you're going to use? Is it something you're going to carry? Is it something you're going to leave behind at home a lot because maybe you like it, but maybe it's for all the wrong reasons? There's a lot of factors you got to take in. And one thing is, EDCing a karambit is strictly, in my taste, this would have to be coupled with a utility knife, because this is not a utility knife, to me anyways. Yeah, I could cut open a package with it. Yeah, I could cut some zip ties, but is this something that I'm going to, in confidence, bust out in public or in front of people? Is this going to be something that's going to make somebody else uncomfortable? And of course, there's people out there that say, I don't give a crap. I'm going to take out whatever I got and they're just going to have to deal with it. There's so many aspects to this, and there's so many topics, but I think my main thing is I want something that's going to be well-rounded, something that I can use as a tool and hope to never use as self-defense, but have it just in case I need it. And there are some people out there that are still, I shouldn't say used to, that I know that carry more than one knife. There's a guy that carries like 2 or 3, and he's ex-military, and he's a good friend, and this is actually his. He tells me that he carries a few knives around with him at all times. He carries one in his boot, he carries one on his waistband, and he carries one in his pocket. Why he carries that many knives, I have no idea. Why he can't just go and get a weapons permit for a firearm so he can EDC a firearm. But his logic is firearms are too big, they're too heavy, they're too loud. And I kind of get it. He's one of those blade guys. Like I'm a blade guy, he's a blade guy. So he has his reasons. He's good at knives, and that's what he likes. And hats off to him. If you're good at something that you know how to use, then do that. But if you're a normal civilian, if you're just a normal guy like me, I'm nothing special. I can tell you right now that I'm not going to walk around with something in my pocket ready to get down if I have to. Mostly I just use it for a tool, and that's mainly it. I mean, if you're if you're going to be running around with a knife in your pocket expecting to run into trouble, I think that kind of mentality is not something you should have when carrying or purchasing a knife. I think that's kind of destructive in a way. Well, anyways, that's just one of my things, just one of my current thoughts when I had a talk with one of my buddies, and he was actually really funny about the whole entire subject, and we were just cracking jokes at each other like, oh, what if this scenario, what if that scenario, and it's just ridiculous. It's not real practical in my opinion to be carrying around EDCing a self-defense knife all the time, unless your job requires it, or if you do feel like you have to because of the situation you're in or the area that you live in, then EDCing a particular fighting knife is probably something that you would have to consider greatly. But if you're not in that kind of situation, then it's probably best that you EDC something simple, something that you know how to use, that you're not afraid to use, and hopefully you never find yourself in a position where you have to pull a knife as your weapon of defense for yourself. The best weapon of defense, in my opinion, my greatest opinion, a cell phone, and I'm just going to say this just to add it on, and a good pair of running shoes. If you can get out of a situation, get out of the situation. Call the professionals, call the cops, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're also going to be the one in cuffs at the end of the day. And then having something confiscated, whether it be a fighting knife or otherwise. That's just my personal opinion. A good pair of running shoes and a cell phone are fantastic for self-defense if you can. And then, of course, I know that there are situations that turn into not being able to avoid that. I like I said, I've heard stories from normal people about how they couldn't avoid conflict. They had to defend, whether it be defending their family or defending themselves. And that's already a touchy subject for another matter, but I'm not going to go ahead and get into that because, that's mostly just a common sense type thing. If you have to defend yourself, then you have to defend yourself. If all you have on you is car keys, you're going to have to use your car keys, or you're going to have to, I don't know. If you got a knife on you, hey, the thing is you want to avoid that kind of scenario at all costs, and you shouldn't carry a knife willy-nilly just because you want to expect that kind of outcome. I think that's a bit irresponsible, in my personal opinion. But like I said, that just depends on the person. That depends on you and what you expect out of the knife. If you purchase a knife, you can carry and do whatever the hell you want to do with it. Why? Because it's yours. Just abide by the laws and be responsible about it. That's my best and worst answer, I should say. I know it kind of sounds a little stupid, but it just depends on the person, really. It really, really does boil down to whoever carries these sorts of things in hopes that it would be that type of easy answer, I guess. Anyways, slash that like button, stab that subscribe. As always, be kind, be safe. Please carry responsibly in these weirdest of times that we're living in. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, and by the way, there's always I've always been meaning to try and get you guys to understand I don't know everything about everything. So when people approach me, they expect me to have a professional answer, and I can tell you I only know as much as I know, and I don't claim to know everything, so I can't provide you with every answer in the book. I can only tell you what I experience and what I've been taught, and that's all I can really do. So a lot of people come up to me and they're like, "Hey, you know everything about knives." I don't know everything about knives. I really don't. I'm still learning a lot. I'm learning as I go, and my interest is folding knives, but I've also had interests in other things too. It's not just folding knives, it's swords, it's, tomahawks and multi tools and all kinds of, bladed things. I don't claim to know everything, and I don't. So I can't sit here and say that I'm a professional because I'm not. I'm just like you. So, sometimes and that's the thing. You can just learn from the people who know. So I'm learning from people who know, and I learn as I go. That sounds kind of cheesy. Well, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.